For Pacifica Radio, I'm Christina Onnested. Ohio voters rejected a Republican and out-of-state backed effort that would have made it harder to amend the state constitution. The state's Republican supermajority had placed the question on whether to raise the threshold from a general majority to a 60% majority to change the constitution on the summer ballot in hopes of undercutting a citizen initiative to enshrine abortion rights in the Constitution on the November ballot. Catherine Carley reports.
Patient advocates, the civil rights leaders, the abortion providers, and doctors from all sorts of specialties and everyday citizens really came together.
Kelly Copeland of Pro-Choice Ohio credits grassroots organizing in Tuesday's special election for the first of two victories needed to ensure Ohioans win a constitutional amendment to guarantee access to abortion. The proposal, known as Issue 1, would have raised the threshold for passing future constitutional changes from a simple majority to 60%. Reproductive rights groups had criticized the timing of the election when many voters are away on vacation, but polling places reported unprecedented voter turnout. I'm Catherine Carley for Pacifica Network and Public News Service.
Abortion rights advocates plan to ask Arizona voters to create a constitutional right to abortion. It would guarantee abortion rights until a fetus could survive outside the womb, typically around 24 weeks, and allow for exceptions for later abortions in cases where it's needed to save a mother's life or protect her physical or mental health. Pro-choice advocates announced the efforts Tuesday. The U.S. Supreme Court upheld regulations on ghost guns Tuesday when two conservative justices, Chief Justice John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett, joined the court's three liberal members to let stand a regulation aimed at reining in the proliferation of firearms that do not have a serial number as the case makes its way through lower courts. The regulation was issued last year by the Biden administration to require ghost gun parts be licensed and include serial numbers. Manufacturers must also run background checks before a sale, as they do with other commercially made firearms. The Giffords Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence praised the Supreme Court's action, saying in a statement from David Pacino, its deputy chief counsel, the challenged rule simply requires ghost gun kits are regulated like the guns that they are, he said. Meanwhile, a federal judge has blocked Colorado from enforcing its new law to raise the age to purchase a gun from 18 to 21. The lawsuit was filed by gun rights groups. Today marks the 78th anniversary of the U.S. nuclear bombing of Nagasaki, Japan, during World War II. The U.S. remains the only nation in the world to use a nuclear bomb in war. Some 70,000 people were killed in the immediate aftermath. It followed the U.S. nuclear attack on Hiroshima just days early. Nagasaki commemorated the day. Its mayor, Shiro Suzuki, echoed earlier criticisms of nuclear powers who argue atomic weapons are a form of deterrence. He said Russia is not the only state representing the risk of nuclear deterrence. As long as states are dependent on nuclear deterrence, we cannot realize a world without nuclear weapons. Eliminating nuclear weapons from the face of the earth is the only way to truly protect our safety, he said. President Joe Biden will tout his economic agenda in New Mexico today, a day after he permanently protected nearly 1 million acres of land, some of it sacred to Native American tribes near the Grand Canyon in Arizona, Tuesday. Christopher Martinez reports.
The long-sought new monument is the fifth of President Joe Biden. Biden says his administration has protected more land than any president since the 1960s. The new national monument in Arizona is called Baj Nwavjo Itach Kukveni, Ancestral Footprints of the Grand Canyon National Monument. The name comes from a Havasupai language phrase meaning where indigenous people roam, and a Hopi term, our ancestral footprints. More than a dozen tribal nations have lived in the region, including the Navajo Nation, the Hopi tribe, and the Pueblo of Zuni. The new national monument covers nearly 1 million acres. It includes ancestral burials, archaeological sites, sensitive habitats for species like bison and bats, and more than 3,000 known cultural and historic sites. Native activists and environmentalists had fought for years to increase protections for the watershed and cultural sites, and a halt to uranium mining. Back in 2012, then-President Barack Obama had blocked new mining on federal lands in the region, but that was set to expire this year. The establishment of the new national monument extends those protections in perpetuity. I'm Christopher Martinez.
I'm Christina Onnested, reporting for Pacifica Radio.